Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm setting up a Commonplace book. This is the notebook that I've chosen. It is a spiral bound notebook with simple dot grid sheets of paper inside, and I've chosen this for my Commonplace notebook. If you're not familiar with the Commonplace book, I can simply explain it as a catch-all. In olden times or several generations ago, they were used to primarily collect notes about reading and quotes and studies, and they're sort of making a comeback. So I thought it might be fun to set up one myself for all of the notes that I want to take on the books that I read. I have to confess that I love books. I buy books and I often read them, but sometimes I figure I'll get around to them someday. And so I have a lot of books like that. And one of my commitments that I've made to myself is that I will be reading more and more of my books on a regular basis. And I decided to keep the notes for these books, not just on in my Kindle app, because I do read a lot on Kindle, or in the books themselves, but to keep them in a common notebook. This is the book that I've customized. I ordered this notebook and added these three words: integrate, engage, and commit. I chose these three because they have been my word of the year over the last 3 years. This is actually my current word of the year, commit. Last year was engage, and the year before that was integrate. And they have special meaning for me, and in the interest of time, I won't go through each of them. If you're interested in hearing more about choosing a word for the year, I do have a blog post on Medium that I can share in the description box below, or if you're really interested and like to hear more, just comment below and maybe I'll create a video just on choosing a word of the year and what these words have meant to me. But I decided to use these three words as a reminder of their meaning for me, but also as a nice way to decorate this cover. So let's get started and open up the notebook. The way that it's structured, you have this back page of the front cover that can you can use wet or dry erase markers on here and put information. I'm not sure exactly how I'm planning to use this, so right now I'm just going to leave that blank. This is the page where you normally write your name on it, and that is what I will do. I'm not going to do that right at this moment, but I am going to cover up this bottom with a little bit of washi tape. It has a little made in the USA, which is nice, but not necessarily what I want here. Part of what I'm going to be doing in setting this up is to make this book a little bit decorative, because when things are visually appealing and attractive, I find that it makes it more enjoyable to use them. And so I'm just adding a little bit of color, and I've chosen a few things to add to that. Actually, I think I might cut a few things out so I'd have them available. Yeah. And I'm going to add this to the top of this page. This washi tape and strips of stickers that I have available, and I'm just adding them to make use of them and just sort of staying in the same color scheme. As you can see, it matches pretty well with what I've got. So I'm going to keep this, and basically what I'm setting up today are the introductory pages. On the back of that sheet it says the best way to get things done is to begin, and I really do like that. I think right now I'm just going to leave that page as it is. This next page, I'm planning to make a bookshelf. So when I say make a bookshelf, what do I mean? In bullet journaling, you often see that folks will use bookshelf, graphic bookshelf, for books to read, and then record the books that they read over the course of the year. You also see them use index so that they can reference what they have, what they've written down in their bullet journal. And so I'm taking a little bit of that bullet journal idea and putting it in this Commonplace book as well. I'm going to create a bookshelf. Got some washi tape here that I cut down a little bit earlier. I have not measured this out. That might have been a good idea. I'm not using the same washi tape. That might have been a good idea also. I think I'm going to layer a couple of things because when I cut these, some of them were the same size, but as you can see, some were not. So yeah, I think I'm going to try to layer them and see how that looks, kind of like that a little bit. And just add some interest. And I'm going to add some more stickers to make. So these are the shelves, and then I'm going to add the books so I can fill them in. Having a ruler probably would have been a good idea, but I think I'm going to try to do this a little bit freehand. So this bookshelf that I'm going to use, I'm going to just simply, again, do this pretty simply, is just going to be a way for me to keep track of the books that I will be taking notes on, and I want to plan for one book per month at least. Now it is February and it is towards the end of February, but I still think I can get at least 12 done in the course of the year. I think on this shelf the books are going to be laying down. I am not an artist by any stretch of the imagination, but I do want to add a little bit of artistic effect here. So I really am not an artist, as you can see, but I do want to make it kind of attractive. So I'm just adding a little bit of some really interesting leaves here. Oh, this is awful. But yeah, I might end up covering these up with stickers, but you know, sometimes you just do some things because it's fun, not because you're necessarily good at it. And so I kind of think that's the category of that particular vase and flowers coming out of it. Let's go back to the books that I'm creating. So far I have 6. And I want to have at least 6 more. Let's add maybe a couple of tall ones here. And what I'm going to do is just write the title of the book. And I will probably add some page numbers to this. So that's 6 there. So that's 12 books. If I find that I am actually reading more than that, I still have space to add more books here. And I will leave this page blank in case I decide that I want to do another bookshelf there. So that will be that. I have here also additional covers that I purchased, and I decided that I wanted to, and actually I think I'm going to leave myself another page just in case I want to put any other information in there. And my idea was that I would have that front section, and then I would put, these are hard to get in, but I would put the, I would go ahead and I would put in between that front section and where my notes are, I would have this cover somewhat as a divider, but honestly, I bought the cover because I like the message of it. It says, "As you teach, you learn." And while I'm not an educator in terms of teaching in the school system or in an educational institution, I am a pastor and I do teach Bible study. And I know that a lot of what I will be using this Commonplace book for would be to take notes on books that I read that I will then use later on in teaching Bible study. And so I thought this particular cover would be pretty effective. Something catching that, but I will get that. So you put the cover in. I could also change if I wanted to, but I don't think I'm going to change the cover, but I do like that. But here's what I thought, and here I have again that same thing, but I know what I want to do with this one. I want to use it to have a place for sticky notes. I use sticky notes a lot, so I'm using this sort of as a dashboard that folks use in their planner, and I have some of these sticky notes that I purchased that are in a neutral color, actually, that I thought I would be able to utilize pretty well in this book. I could use them for multiple purposes. Divider. Now this to do, I just don't, I'm going to put it in here, but I don't know that I'm going to use it because this is not a planner. I'm not going to use it in that way. Make sure I have all of these. I do. I'm not going to use it to create to-do list, but I'm going to keep this in here so that when I want to use sticky note, and I do use sticky notes, particularly when I'm reading and jotting down notes, so I think that will be helpful. I have the back cover. You get when you get the extra cover, you get the front and the back. I actually use that for the washi tape that I cut out earlier, and I think I'm just going to leave the washi tape that I'm not using right now in here and just go ahead and do the same thing and just add this right in. So the types of books, as I'm doing this, let me share the types of books that I'm planning to use. Again, I mentioned I'm a pastor. I have studied worship in particular. I love Bible study, and so I often will get books on those themes. I'm also very interested in how the gospel informs justice in the world and our approach to justice. And so I have a lot of books that sort of fit in those categories, and as well as just general theology books, history books, biographical works, but you know, mainly in the areas of theology. And I'm not tearing up these. They often will come with picture word. And I'm tearing this up using the scissors. They often come with the little punched area still in there, and so when it is, that was what was flying out. So anyway, I will often get these books, and I have lots of them, and I might read some of them, I might glance through, or I might read the whole thing, but I want to make sure that I have notes on them, and so that is what this book is going to be dedicated to. So now I have, let's go back, I have my cover. I'm going to write my name in there, and I'm going to, as I go along, fill in the bookshelf. This is not terribly fancy, but it looks okay to me. I think there's actually a quote that I'm going to write in there, and I just got to grab it off my phone. It was a quote from Seneca, the philosopher, and I found it when I was doing some research on Commonplace books, and it was embedded in that article, which I will also link the article below, but it says, we should hunt out the helpful pieces of teaching and the spirited and noble-minded sayings which are capable of immediate practical application and learn them so well that words become works. I love that. So I'm going to actually write that here. I don't know that I'm going to do that on camera. I might do that later and put it in so that you can see it. But right now, I'm going to take a little time and set up like a first page. Now, there are a lot of pages here, and this notebook also comes with its own little bit of stickers as well. And I've also cut out some sheets of paper that particularly go well with the sticky notes that I have. I also have some stickers that I might use to add a little interest. So I'm going to set up basically what will be my first page. And so just want to think about this because I do want it to be attractive. I don't think I like that, but I also need to leave plenty of space to write. So I would definitely still write on this sheet. I kind of do like that. Okay, so let's start to glue some things down, and I'm not going to do a lot of here, but just set up the first couple of pages. I'm using these dots a little bit as a guide here. Now, the thing about a glue stick, they're okay. I would do better if I had like a roller, and I do, but I tend to save those for projects that are a little bit more in depth than this. I think the glue stick is going to be okay for this. This one I just kind of eyeballed. Make sure you get your edges, and yeah, good. I want something for the header here. Part of what I'm going to do on the first page for each book, I'm going to create that almost like its own introduction page. So I want this page to be set up so that I have room for the title, the author, and because I might end up at some point writing, using this in a Bible study or in something where I need to reference information, I want to also have readily available the information for a bibliography. Oh, here we go. I have a banner that I can use. I kind of want to put this, and put something behind that to really give it a little, some interest. Do I want to use, maybe not, maybe I'll just use the banner for this one. So let's go ahead and put the banner down. I was thinking it would be nice if I had something behind it, but actually I think the banner will be fine. This is on matte, so I'll be able to write on, but I could also color it in if I wanted to add a little bit of color to it at a later point, but I don't think so. So my thinking for the first page for each book, particular, not necessarily each chapter of the book, but for the book, the title of the book, I'll put the author in here somewhere, and maybe my favorite quote once I'm done reading the book, put my favorite quote, and actually I could use this. I could use this for the author, the bibliography entry, and footnote entry, because I like to just have those. When I was doing my research in school, I decided that whenever I read a book, that in part of my notes, that I would format the bibliography entry as well as the footnote entry. And I have to tell you that when I was writing my thesis and had, I don't know, I think around 200 footnote entries, 100 plus entries in my bibliography from the works that I cited, let me tell you, I was so glad that I did that. So this little hint, but because I might, use this to write a paper or do some research, or that I might want to know, have all of that information and not have to go back for it. I think that is what this page is going to be. So I don't know that I really want to do much more than that on the first page. That looks pretty good and pretty simple. Now these next pages, friends, I just need to be, again, decorative, attractive, so that really the idea is so that I will want to come back to them, that I will want to read them. So I like this. Let me cut this down. Because I have this in the frame, as they say, down there. And I don't know what I just did to make this happen, but it is kind of part of it. And I'm wondering, maybe I can just put this one on this side. Yeah, nice. And like it. So I'm just going to add now to this on this page. I'm not here going to add that same design because I don't want to, visually I don't want to confuse myself. I think that I am, oh nice, that I don't want to confuse myself and have the same visual look. I don't want any other page to look just like this page. I want to reserve the banner. First of all, I don't have many of these banners, but I want the banner and this sort of configuration as the first page for whatever book I'm using. And not that I'm necessarily going to go read one book straight. I tend to read multiple things at the same time so that as I am reading one book, I might also be reading another book, and that may seem odd, and maybe it is, but the reason that I will do that is I found in doing that it definitely makes it more interesting, and I also find the connections that that you find from one book to another. I don't really want to put too much on these pages, but I do want to utilize some of the things that I have. I like this sticker that says, remember this, because that's the whole point, right? The whole point of this exercise in creating a Commonplace book is so that you can record your memories and those impressions about the books that that you read. This is a clear end. I think it's a little overlapping there, but that's okay. I probably, if I had thought about it a little more, done that differently, but I think that's okay. I think I'm going to want something there. The other thing is that when I'm actually reading, I will also probably use markers and things of that nature. So it's not a case that I will not have other sort of visual decorations. And you can see I'm keeping this fairly monochromatic in basically black, grays, and I'm doing that primarily because I have this color, and I have this color to work with, which will be fun. And I will probably pick up things that are this color as I'm going along and reading. So I imagine that as I continue with this, what I will continually do is, and I'm almost thinking that I'm going to reserve this so that, let's say I'm reading and I go back and, oh, I want to add something, that I could always just do a tip in. And a tip in is when you add a piece of paper into a bound book, essentially, and you know, get a hair of washi tape or something like that, and it just gives you more space to write. So I have a lot of sheets that I can do that. I also have these little connectors that you can use in the small size as well as in the larger size, so you can add into this. Did you notice when I was putting these in, it's hard to put these things in, and so taking them out, I can't imagine, but that's good because they won't come out easily. I mean, they are very well adhered in this book, but that gives me more options of things that I can do. So that is the general setup. Let me just go through again what we've done. I have my cover, Commonplace Book. Not sure what I'm going to do with this. I might, here's something I'm thinking, I might put a list of books that I want to get. So one of the things that I've decided with my book addiction is that I'm not going to buy, and I have not always just bought every book that I wanted. A lot of times, if there's a sample on Kindle, I'll get the sample, and that's my reminder. If I read the sample, then I can buy the book. But oftentimes I still just get the book, particularly if it's not on Kindle and I have to order it, or if I'm shopping and I see it out, then I'll buy it. But also having a list of books to read. So most of the time in your bullet journal, what I've seen is this used as a books to read list. Maybe that's what I'll do here instead, is just write down books I would like to read that I have not yet gotten, or maybe even that I have, because I have so many books that I haven't read that I could just write down the ones that I want to read here as I read them, transfer them from here to here, and have my notes in the book. This is where I'm going to write that quote, and I will write it down, and I'll probably show you on Instagram once I've written the quote down on this sheet of page from Seneca, the one that I read out to you. Leave this blank in case I need to do a continuation of the bookshelf. And I will also leave this one blank because I'll probably come across a quote along the way, maybe from one of the books that I'm reading, or just a quote in general. Here's the other thing about these Commonplace books. They're not just for keeping your notes from your reading. They're supposed to be all-inclusive, so notes on anything. So I tend to like to segment things out, so I am limiting this in scope to anything related to Bible study, theology, worship, anything related to ministry that I'm reading, and to faith that I'm reading. With the exception, I do already have a notebook where I keep notes from books I read about prayer. And because I've already started that, I'm going to continue with that. So if I read another book this year about prayer, it will go in that notebook. But anything else will go in here. For conferences, and I do go to conferences every year, I do have separate notebooks for the conferences I go to, so those won't be in here. But let's say I read a devotional, or I read an article online or in a magazine, that will go in here. If I'm reading something and it brings to mind a biblical passage, I'll write that in here. And so this will be, or if I come across just a quote in general that is in that same vein, it will go into this book, because that's the whole point. Having this commonplace book where you can go back and look through everything, and at the end of the year, having, my goal would be to have this bad boy filled up by the end of the year with wonderful notes, quotes, and scriptures, and just things that I'm really would like to review from time to time. I'm gonna keep this in here as my sort of my dashboard going on here. You can see already the post-it notes coming off. And part of the reason I'm keeping these together is hopefully the idea of that this will keep the post-it notes in there, and I do have this washi tape. I don't intend to keep the washi tape on here. That was just for the purpose of this video. But it's not, and the only reason I'm saying not keep it on there because I'm not sure that I actually like these colors enough to use them throughout this book. So I might choose different washi. I have a collection of gray washi, and I might just use that instead, because I think I really like keeping this fairly monochromatic. This will be where the first book, my notes start here, and then they will continue, and then we'll see how it goes. I'll probably do periodic flip throughs or share some of my notes with you in subsequent videos. I pray that you enjoyed this. If you have a commonplace book yourself, I would love it if you would share photos with me, or just comment down below in terms of how you use it yourself and how it might have benefited you. And remember that this channel is about loving God, loving your neighbor, and loving yourself. And you may be wondering, well, what in the world does this commonplace book have to do with it? Well, for me, actually committing to reading these books will lead me not only to a deeper understanding, but a deeper devotional relationship in life with God. And so this is very much about loving God, and also my own self-development, which I think is also part of self-love. And because I believe that those three things, loving God, loving neighbor, and loving self, are so intertwined and connected, that I believe that as I grow my relationship with God and my relationship with myself and become better and stronger in those areas, I cannot help but to be a more loving neighbor. I just believe that, and that's been my experience. So that's the connection with the focus of this channel. I pray this has been a blessing to you. If you have not already, please subscribe to my channel so you can be part of this community, and hit the notification bell, and so you'll be notified every time I post a video. I'll also have my social media links below, so if you want to connect with me there as well, we have that opportunity. Thank you for joining me. Until the next time we're together, remember, love God, love neighbor, and love yourself.